Hello, and welcome to Booklandia 2 Electric Boogaloo. How are you doing? I'm John Samuelson down. I think I might have even cut that one off. I came in so quick I might have cut that off. We'll have to see. I'm John Samuelson. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Hashtag really Beaverton. It's the other Portland where Nike is. Over down in Southern California, we are joined again by our guest host.
That's me, Scott Bedley, also known as several different Twitter handles, starting with Task Fair, Scott Bedley, Scott Teach, Bedley Brothers. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah.
All that stuff. Okay,
and
that's
it's really early, by the way, down here. So if my light cut off, you know why.
That's right. It's really early for us. This is for the earliest we've ever podcasted, but for Colby, it's not that early. So anyway, we just want to say, our show is Techlandia. Scott's show is the Bedley Brothers. You can check us out over there. But today, this is the best podcast because we let genius take over, and we have Colby Sharp over in Michigan right now. Colby will give his. Colby will talk about the Nerdy Book Club in a second, and then we're just going to let him go and give you 3 books for your. Would you say elementary, probably, and middle school classrooms, Colby?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. That's what we'll do. So if you ever want some cool books for the school year starting out, Colby's got them for you, and I suggest that you subscribe to the Nerdy Book Club RSS feed like I do, and then you just get a nice little blog post every day, and I've gotten that ever since we had Colby on Techlandia way back when in June or whenever that was. All right, Colby, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. The first book I'm going to talk about is The 14th Goldfish. It's by 3-time Newbery Honor-winning author Jennifer L. Holm. And her first novel in a couple of years, and it's an absolute masterpiece. She tries something a little different here. She's very well known for her historical fiction novels. All 3 of her Newbery Honors are historical fiction. And she also writes the Baby Mouse and Squish graphic novel series with her brother Matthew Holm, which are very, very popular in my classroom library. I think there's 17 Baby Mouse and 6 Squish. Absolutely awesome books. But The 14th Goldfish, man, it's cool. It's got like this science fiction twist. There's this girl, Ellie. She's 11 years old. She lives with her mom. Her mom's a drama teacher at the school. And Ellie comes home one day, and getting out of her mom's car is this boy, I think he's a 13-year-old boy, and he looks very, very familiar. And it turns out to be her grandfather. And her grandfather is sort of this mad scientist dude. And it turns out he has found the Fountain of Youth. He has found it in this, I believe it's, if I remember, a jellyfish. He finds it in a jellyfish, this special jellyfish that can like regenerate itself and make itself revert back to its like youth form. And he uses that to become a kid again. And so now she's living with her 13-year-old grandfather. And when she goes to school, the mom decides that they're not going to leave the grandpa at home because then people would, freak out if there's this kid hanging out at home all the time. So they enroll him in school as her cousin. So you have this 13-year-old genius man who is 2 PhDs, and he's thrown into middle school, and he dresses very much still kind of like an old man. Doesn't really care about that kind of thing. And he's trying to he really wants to get his jellyfish back, right? Because he's got this very special jellyfish that contains the Fountain of Youth and all of this stuff. But obviously, the science place where he works isn't going to let him back in because he's just a kid. So part of the book they're trying to figure out how to get the jellyfish back. Part of it, Ellie's getting to know her grandfather, and then he's deciding how he's going to go public with this amazing and win the Nobel Prize so they're faced with this conflict of what would happen to the world if someone did find the Fountain of Youth? Would that be a good thing? So they're faced with that question. So there's a lot of great storylines. But what I love most about the book is just I love Ellie getting to know her grandfather, and her grandfather truly believes in her and believes that someday she'll grow up and win the Nobel Prize. It's a beautiful book. It comes out next Tuesday, which I believe is August 26th. I've read it 5 times. And when you read as many books as I try to read, you don't really have enough time to reread books, but I feel that this book is just so beautiful and so well done that It's worth the time to take your time and read it slow. And it's also Pernille Rip runs the Global Read Aloud, and it's one of the selections for this year's Global Read Aloud, which is really exciting.
Very cool. Hey, Colby, is this a book that would be good, having not read it, but is this a good book for looking at unintended consequences and a tie into science, or is this something that would really just be more about reading?
No, there's a ton of science. Jenny's father was a scientist. He was a doctor, and it's really basically just I don't know. You could call it a love letter to her father, and for the love of science. It's a beautiful book. Jenny's really interested in science. Her graphic novel series Squish is about an amoeba, and all of the little friends the amoeba has, water fleas and different things. So it's an absolute beautiful book. And it would be a great book to read aloud in a science class.
Cool.
I have to say, all right, and I will say this also, that we will, what I like to do for Colby is we take it and make all of the books into a nice list. Colby, what was the, tell us one more time so that I get it straight and I can write it in my notes too. What is the, when we want to download the ebook or we want to get the book, what's the website that I like to link people off of?
Indie, I-N-D-I-E, Bound, B-O.
Indie Bound, okay. I have to say, Colby, first of all, it reminds me of an 80s movie with John Cryer where he had to hide from the FBI and kind of go in and get to the... No, I'm just kidding. But doesn't it kind of sound like it? It sounds like this book could be made into a good 80s movie. That's what it sounds like. I think that it's got the elements of like Back to the Future and that whole thing. I think that's
like
good.
A Cocoon too, John? Cocoon?
Yeah, like a cocoon, right? But yeah, this one sounds really interesting. I like that one. And did you get? So you said it comes out on Tuesday. Did you get? And you've read it 5 times. Did you get? You got an advance copy of it?
Yeah, I got an advance copy of it.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I wanted to say. I gave you a chance to humble brag right there. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, Colby, go ahead and hit us into the second one.
All right, the second book is called The Secret Hum of a Daisy. It's by Tracy, I'm going to butcher this name, Holzer, Holczr.
Okay.
And this is a book that was recommended to me by my friend Frankie Siberson, and I wasn't really, I mean, I had seen the book and I'd heard some good things, but when Frankie recommends a book and she tells me that I have to read it, I absolutely do, and I'm so glad I did. It's a story of Grace. She's 12, and Grace and her mom are, I don't know, they're almost like gypsies. They just kind of move all around the country, and they go all over the place. She's never met anyone. She's never been to where her mom is from. So then eventually they start living with a family that has a daughter, a mom and a daughter, and the mom tells Grace that they're going to move, and Grace just puts her foot down and yells at her mom, and they get into this big argument, and that day the mom dies. So like right after that, the mom drowns, and Grace, obviously, so Grace, goes back to where mom's from, and they have a funeral, and Grace has to live with her grandmother, and she really wants to live with the family she lived in. She hasn't heard good things about her grandmother. Grandma actually sent mom away when she got pregnant with Grace 12 years ago. And it's just such a interest, and she won't even live with grandma's house. She actually lives out back in the shop, like the shed basically, and she comes in the house to go to the bathroom and eat. When her and her mom moved, her mom would always leave like these little clues, kind of like a treasure map of different things for Grace to have to find, and taking her all over the new city or the new town, and the clues would always lead her back to the new house that they would live at. And Grace keeps finding these clues after her mom has died in her mom's hometown, and she feels like her mom is sending her these clues, and that her mom is just kind of trying to tell her something else. Yeah, I'm not gonna ruin the end, but it's it's a beautiful book. It has a lot of tweetable lines. If you read it, you'll want to just highlight and tweet and mark up so many of the sentences. It's a beautiful book. Very sad, very sad.
As always, Colby, real quick, sorry to cut you off, Scott. Give us the, what grade level would you say the first book, the 14th Goldfish, what grade level would you say, is like the youngest you could go and for that book for these last two?
Yeah, 14th Goldfish, there's one line that I would maybe skip if I was reading to a young, like you could probably read it a line aloud to fourth graders if you just skip the line about the mom getting knocked up.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably skip that line, and then younger kids. I mean, most kids they would have no. I'm guessing not many would have any idea. It's marketed in 10 to 14. I think both books would be. Publisher would say 10 to 14. Probably the final book as well.
You ever have? I've always had those, Scott. You ever had those where you're reading the book aloud, and then all of a sudden you catch that one word, and you just kind of gloss right over it, or you do that nice little substitution. I've done that so many times for books. It's so funny.
I used to just try to insert students' names while I'm reading aloud, just to see, how closely some kids are listening and see if I can catch them off guard. And yeah, I always think that's kind of fun to do too.
Oh my gosh, reading aloud, one of my favorite things right after lunch to just go ahead and read aloud to kids. Gosh, those are the fun days before technology. All right, go ahead and give us Now this one really caught my eye, Colby. I have to say I love the title for this one, and I'm sure my third grader will love the title of this one too.
Death by Toilet Paper, and I have a cover here that if anyone's watching or Griff watches the video by Donna Gephardt. And this book looks kind of silly and kind of funny. You got the toilet paper on the cover, the Death by Toilet Paper, but it is a very, very well written. It is a very deep and touching story about Ben. Ben's dad had recently died. All these books are so sad.
I know. We'll have to get a Booklandia without people dying on it. That's our someday it'll happen.
Yeah, and circa now the dad died. We did that. But the dad died, and they had all these goals that the family was going to do, and the mom was going to go back to school and become an accountant. And, the dad dies, and they're left with the mom works at a restaurant, and they don't have a lot of money. They're very, very far behind on their rent, and Ben is. This is one of the things that I love most about this book. Ben is obsessed with sweepstakes. Like he enters every sweepstake. Every online contest, every mail contest, he enters everything. He even gets a newsletter in the mail that sends him sweepstakes. They don't have much money, so he'll do things for his friend, and his friend will pay him in stamps so that he can send in these sweepstakes. In the book, yeah, they're about to be evicted. There's a big orange sign on the door that says, you're going to court and you're going to get kicked out of your house. And Ben's trying to help his mom get enough money to pay the rent, and it's just not working. And Ben has this idea that he's going to win the toilet paper. One of the toilet paper companies is hosting a slogan contest, and the winning prize is $10,000. So Ben feels if they can win that prize, then they'll get a chance to save the day, and mom will be able to finish school, and he'll be able to get them back on their feet. But and one really neat thing, at the beginning of each chapter, there's a little fact, a little toilet paper fact, which is super fun. I'll give you one here.
All right, that's why I need a toilet paper fact.
Ready for this?
Okay.
According to some studies, more than 70% of the world's population doesn't use toilet paper because of tradition, religion, or expense.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Gosh, that just blew my mind right there.
Yeah.
Well, I know, mind blown. All right, here, wait. You know what? My bedhead's third grade son just walked in. Let's ask him real quick. Michael, you can talk real quick. I shushed him as he came in. Michael, would you read a book called Death by Toilet Paper? Yeah, you hear him laugh. Okay, we got it. All right, Michael, don't get.
One more fact. One more toilet paper fact. It takes about 384 trees to produce the toilet paper one person uses in a lifetime.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Gosh, you know what? Portland would like that book then, because Portland is very, they have their, what do they, Scott, what do they have? They have, I forget what, the compost thing. And Allison said to me, she goes, you live in Beaverton, you don't have to compost, like it was the greatest thing ever. I just started laughing. I'm like, is composting that bad, Allison? But yeah, that's what she said. Well, that sounds really interesting. Okay, so I like those books. We'll have the links to those in IndieBound, so you can go ahead and check back for the Listly. I'll put them on I'll do just a little short blog post on iPad Sammy, and then we'll just let it go ahead and we just let Colby speak for himself. Now, Colby, I think, is going to go ahead and give you a bonus right now since it's the beginning of the school year, and he's going to talk about some books that he thinks will be good for your professional growth for your classroom.
Yeah. I've been really stressed out, guys. I know the importance of independent reading, and I know like that kids need to be reading for pleasure every day, kindergarten through 12th grade, and I know that's not happening, and it stresses me out. A couple of the books that I hope all middle school and elementary teachers read are The Book Whisperer by Donald Miller, The Reading Zone by Nancy Atwell. I think those two books really celebrate the joy of reading and the importance, and have the research to back up how important it is to get kids reading. And, you know, in high school it gets a little more tricky. But Kelly Gallagher wrote a book called Read Aside a handful of years ago. That's a beautiful book, and he talks about how some of the reading in his class they do together, and some of the reading is for pleasure. And then I think Penny Kittle wrote one of the most important books never written for high school English teachers called Book Love. And in that book she takes some of the principles that Kelly set forth, and she just really takes it to this just really helps teachers to see the importance of reading. And you know, kids are going to get to college and they're going to have to read hundreds of pages a week. So if we're not giving them time to read now and build up their stamina and build up their skills, then they're just going to fall flat on their face. So Book Love, Read Aside, The Reading Zone, The Book Whisperer. I wish that every school would allow their teachers to have copies of those, because they're so important. You know, a lot of this wonderful stuff we do and a lot of this tech stuff is cool and it's great, you know, but research shows, and research for years, 30, 40, 50 years, shows the importance of independent reading. So I hope that we can somehow find time for that in our day and give our kids a chance to develop those reading skills that they're going to need.
Hey, Colby, can I ask you a quick kind of pedagogical question about reading? Do you think required reading backfires in the long run?
Like a whole class novel?
Well, like required minutes. So if I assign and require kids to do 30 minutes of reading at home, and it's like a forced thing, does that backfire in a sense because kids are forced to read and aren't doing it out of a passion or a love for it, or rather out of requirement and responsibility?
Yeah, I think it's tough because we know, like, research shows that kids who read 20 minutes a day, like how many words that they read a year. So it's obvious that kids need to spend time reading. I do require my students to read 25 minutes a night at home throughout the year. I don't do reading logs. I don't make them take something home and sign it, because basically what that becomes, it really teaches kids how to lie. Teaches kids how to lie. And I feel like, you know, if we can set the atmosphere in our classrooms and we can get it so kids are excited about reading, then they'll make it an important part of their life. But I'm not going to punish kids if they don't read at home. You know, if they're not reading at home, I'm going to know because I talk to them and I can tell, like, the progress they're making. Right. And I read a lot of books, so I know if they're faking it, which third graders don't. They don't really try to pull one on me. They're pretty honest. So I feel like, you know, if they're not reading at home, then we need to talk about it. We need to figure out why they're not reading, what's going on, and, you know, get the parents involved. What can I do to help? Yeah, but I know that the time thing is stressful. I hate more than anything those, not more than anything, but I hate those bookmarks that have, like, the timer on the top. It's like my least favorite. You know, have you seen those? They sell them at, like, the bookshops, and
yes,
you know, kids who have to read 25 minutes will set their little timer, and
that's all they'll read.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Instead of maybe what they might have done had we not set a requirement or a limit, maybe they would have read for an hour if they are selecting the right book, if it's a high-level interest, if they have a passion about reading. So, yeah, that's a school bell right there. I've just really been thinking a lot about, you know, how do I inspire my kids in my classroom to want to go home and read rather than me requiring it and, in a sense, kind of having them feel forced to do it, when I know a lot of, you know, struggling readers, that almost can backfire with them. I'd rather take 20 minutes out of my classroom and do, like, a really intensive independent reading time where I I give them the class time. I want to have them, read in class like that. So.
Yeah, and we always read the very first thing of the school day in my class, just because I know, like, we get busy and things get pushed aside. But every day that my kids, I always tell them every day that they come to school that they're gonna read, they're gonna write, they're gonna think, and they're gonna play. So every day we read, we write first, we think hard all day, and they're always gonna get their recess, never gonna take that away or anything. So read, write, think, and play every day that they come to school. So, but there's a really great blog post about reading logs and reading at home. John, I'll send that to you. It's by Donald Miller.
Okay.
Just for a blog, and that would be maybe great to include in your little thing you read.
Colby, thanks for going down that path with me. I just was curious because I know reading and reading instruction is a real passion of yours. So
yeah, thanks.
I appreciate it.
I think really, I like what you said about I used to not really require signatures and then just do the conferencing with students and just talk about the book. And I think that if you have some students that are struggling like that and you want some book suggestions, maybe to pique their interest a little bit, I go ahead and Colby will give you, I'm sure if you just reached out on Twitter to Colby or just went to the Nerdy Book Club website, there are so many book reviews there. It's such a great resource, and it's been how many years in a row since how many days in a row has it been that you've had a blog post on the Nerdy Book Club site?
I believe it's every day since December 1st, 2011.
That's a lot of days. Well, that's over 1,000 right there.
It's a lot of days.
It's a lot of days, and I do, and you can subscribe. It's very easy to subscribe to the RSS feed and get some. But if you are having problems and you need a book suggestion, Colby will be happy, because, like he said, look, it's stressing him out, and it's like I have the weight of my classroom stressing me out, and Colby is like the weight of the world of reading, and he wants kids to read. So he'll definitely take the time and tweet you a link to a book real quick. And Colby, we'd like to thank you again for all your hard work. I mean, we really appreciate having you come on and trying out Booklandia. And so once we get started, hopefully the next time we talk then, we're like a month into the school year, and you can have some more books that are on there. And we'll keep trying to make them and give them as resources. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys. We
appreciate it. Scott, do you have any last words?
Yeah, I'm just about to wake up right now.
and he's just about to have a conference right now too, Colby.
Yeah. I'm on 4 weeks. This is my 4th weekend in school, so.
Yeah, they're year-round.
Wow.
I know. Look, see, you just blew there. We just blew his mind. So there we go. All right.
4 more weeks and I'm on break. So.
Yeah, you're already halfway. Scott's already halfway to a break. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the flip side.